What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. My name is Tom. I am your host, and today is Wednesday, April the 3rd. We are just about to kick off the biggest weekend in wrestling, Wrestlemania weekend. I want to thank everybody for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever you find your podcasts. And thanks to everybody for following on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. On any one of those, it's at CatchHookShoot. And of course, as always, the email address is catchhookshoot@gmail.com. Want to mention right off the bat, this is probably going to be the last show that's uploaded on Twitch. Apparently they're changing some of their rules for uploads, so I'll still be using Twitch anytime I do any live streaming or anything like that. But after this one, we won't be having the weekly uploads on Twitch anymore. But you'll still be able to find it everywhere else. Like I said, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube, and wherever else you find your podcasts at. So getting into what's going on in the world of wrestling this week, really only one big piece of news to report, and that is that as of today, it was made official. JR has signed a 3-year deal with AEW, so apparently it wasn't 100% clear, is he going to be like their full-time play-by-play guy, or is it was also mentioned that he's going to be like a senior advisor for AEW as well, so kind of pulling double duty there, which is not really any kind of surprise. Seems like a lot of people signing with AEW have more than one function there, which is good. But he will be making his debut at Double or Nothing, so that's definitely a huge signing for AEW. But the whole purpose of this particular show, coming out a little early this week, is to run down some of the big shows that are going on this weekend in New York as part of WrestleMania weekend, and WrestleCon and everything else going on over there. So we're going to start off, jump right in with the big show going on Thursday, April the 4th, which is from Impact Wrestling, their United We Stand pay-per-view. Going to run down the card here. First of all, we've got the Lucha Brothers, Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. versus Rob Van Dam and Sabu. This match will more than likely, I would think, steal the show. I mean, RVD and Sabu, of course, legends in the business in general, just known for doing a lot of high-flying, crazy spots, and Phoenix and Pentagon arguably are the best tag team in wrestling right now. So this one should be, I would be surprised if that match is not the main event of the show. For the Impact Knockouts Championship, we've got a four-way match. Taya Valkyrie will be defending against Katie Forbes, Rosemary, and Jordynne Grace. This one, I'm pulling for Jordynne Grace. I'm a big Jordynne Grace fan. I think most of you guys probably know that already. So, and she's already the Progress Women's Champion, the World Series Wrestling Women's Champion. So it'd be nice to see her add the Knockouts Championship to that collection. But I think more than likely Taya's probably going to retain. But like I said, I'm pulling for Jordynne Grace in this one. Next, we've got a singles match for the X Division Championship. Rich Swann is defending against Flamita. Now, I have to admit, I'm not familiar with Flamita, so I can't really say too much about this one. Now, Rich Swann, obviously, his reputation speaks for itself. He's like I said, the X Division champion, and he's amazing in the ring, so it should be a great match. Then we've got an Ultimate X match for an X Division championship title shot. Jake Crist, Dante Fox, Jack Evans, Pat Buck, Cotto Brazil, and Johnny Impact. Oddly enough, Johnny Impact, of course, is the Impact World Champion right now, but decided to insert himself into this Ultimate X match. Apparently, he wants all the Golden Impact. So, see how this one goes. Wouldn't surprise me to see Johnny Impact come away with the victory in that one, especially if he gets some help from Killer Cross or who knows. Next, we've got a Monsters Ball match between Jimmy Havoc and Sami Callihan. This one should be just brutal and violent and bloody and just a real good time with these two guys in there. I would expect Sami Callihan probably to come out on top in this one. Jimmy Havoc, obviously, is an AEW wrestler. Sami Callihan is an Impact wrestler, so I'd expect the Impact guy to go over in this one. Then we have an intergender match, Tessa Blanchard versus Joey Ryan. That's an interesting matchup, to say the least. So we'll see see how that one is. Then we've got a tag team match. This one is basically Impact versus MLW. We've got the Latin American Exchange, Santana and Ortiz versus Promociones Dorado, Low-Key, and Ricky Martinez. So that should be a pretty good match. Low-Key, obviously a big star in Impact before moving on to WWE for a cup of coffee, and then the Indies, and now is settled in MLW. So this should be a fantastic match between these two teams. And then finally we've got an 8-man tag team match, Team Impact versus Team Lucha Underground. The Impact team as of right now is Brian Cage, Eddie Edwards, Moose, and TBA. Basically, it was originally supposed to be Johnny Impact as a fourth member of that team. He refused to team with Brian Cage, and that's how he ended up in the Ultimate X match. And the Lucha Underground team for this one is Aerostar, Drago, King Cuerno, and Daga. Now, of course, I talked about last week, Lucha Underground is pretty much done. There's no plans for Season 5 as of right now, and they settled the lawsuit that some of the wrestlers had filed against them to get released from their contracts. So, the future of Lucha Underground is not looking very good, so this may be kind of the last hurrah for the Lucha Underground brand. So that's Thursday, April the 4th for Impact. Then also on April the 4th, MLW is doing a TV taping called Rise of the Renegades. We've got a World Heavyweight Championship match, Filthy Tom Lawler defending against Jimmy Havoc. So Jimmy Havoc's going to be a busy guy on Thursday. We've got the Hart Foundation versus Dynasty in a 6-man tables match. LA Park versus Pentagon. So that one right there should be a fantastic match. Two very well-known luchadors, probably two of the best. LA Park, obviously, formerly known as La Parka, spent a lot of time in WCW, just hugely popular. And Pentagon, of course, now one of the most popular wrestlers that there is outside of WWE. Then next, we've got a singles match between MJF and Brian Pillman Jr. Sami Callihan versus Mance Warner. Sami Callihan, another busy guy on Thursday. Minoru Tanaka versus Daga. Ace Romero versus Joseph Samael. Ray Phoenix versus Airwolf. Barrington Hughes versus Jacob Fatu. Gringo Loco versus Hijo de LA Park. And Ray Horace versus Ace Austin. So, now with the number of matches on here, I'd assume that's probably a couple of weeks worth of TV that they're taping that night. So looks like it's going to be a long show, but it looks like it's going to be a good show. Like I said, quite a few of these guys pulling double duty, but I know the Impact pay-per-view doesn't start till later in the evening, so I'm guessing the MLW taping is going to happen first, and then those guys will move on to the Impact pay-per-view. Then on Friday the 5th, we've got another taping for MLW, their Battle Riot event. LA Park versus Jimmy Havoc, Low-Key versus Daga, Teddy Hart defending the middleweight championship versus Ace Austin, Brian Pillman Jr. versus Rich Swann, and then they've got their Battle Riot match, which is kind of a cross between a Royal Rumble and a Bunkhouse Stampede. If any of you guys remember that, a Bunkhouse Stampede is basically like a hardcore battle royal. Back in the days of Jim Crockett Promotions before WCW, the Bunkhouse Stampedes were like a series of events, and basically, the whole tagline was "Come as you are, bring what you will." So you saw guys in there in street clothes, cowboy boots, bringing all kinds of weapons in there with them, and they were a lot of fun to watch. So. And participants so far named in the Battle Riot, and this is as of today, like I said, April the 3rd, Ace Austin, Ace Romero, Alex Hammerstone, Barrington Hughes, Brian Pillman Jr., Davey Boy Smith Jr., Daga, Hijo de LA Park, Low-Key, Mance Warner, MJF, Pentagon, Ray Phoenix, Sami Callihan, Minoru Tanaka, Teddy Hart, Gringo Loco, Ray Horace, Jimmy Yuta, Kodo Brazil, Lance Anoa'i, Avalanche, Ken Kurbis, Airwolf, Myron Reed, Dan Severn. That's an interesting one to throw in there. Haven't seen him around in a little while, so it'd be it's definitely an interesting entry. That's one I would keep my eye on. Don't expect him to win, but expect to see some interesting stuff out of him, because he was obviously Dan Severn was he was always great in the ring, spent a little time in WWE, also, of course, more well known as a UFC champion. His skills are unquestionable, but I think the reason he didn't do too much in WWE was just his promo skills weren't all that great, but his in-ring skills, like I said, were pretty much untouchable. Then we've got Jordan Oliver, Michael Patrick, Lee O'Brien, Richard Holiday, and Emil Sitoic. Not another one I'm not too familiar with, so I'm sorry if I butchered that name there. Then also taking place on Friday the 5th is NXT Takeover. Now this one's kind of interesting that they put it on Friday rather than Saturday like most takeovers are. I don't know if WWE directly did this to to not have to compete with the New Japan and Ring of Honor Supercard show that's going on that same night, but they kind of flip-flop their the NXT Takeover and the Hall of Fame. So the NXT Takeover is going on Friday night, April the 5th, and matches on that one are the War Raiders defending the NXT Tag Team titles against Aleister Black and Ricochet. This one I'm picking the War Raiders to retain. Aleister and Ricochet have been spending a lot of time up on Raw and SmackDown, so I'm thinking their time in NXT is probably winding down, so I don't think they would put the championships on them at this point. Next we've got for the WWE United Kingdom Championship, Pete Dunne defending against Walter. Now Pete Dunne has held that championship close to 2 years now, and Walter obviously just recently debuted in NXT UK, so this one should be a good match. Now Pete Dunne, I don't know if he's one that they would move to Raw or SmackDown, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and pick Walter in this one. I don't typically with NXT, if somebody loses a championship, it means they're moving to Raw or SmackDown. I don't think that's the case with Pete Dunne, though. It would surprise me if they moved him out of NXT UK, because he is the top guy there, championship or not. He is the most popular superstar that they have right now. I'm not saying that won't change. I mean, there's so much talent in NXT UK that it's ridiculous, but I'm looking for Walter to take the championship in this one. Then we've got a singles match for the NXT North American Championship, Velveteen Dream defending against Matt Riddle. This is Matt Riddle's first championship opportunity since joining NXT. I would like to see Matt Riddle win this one, but the North American Championship has kind of been getting passed around. Not as frequently as some championships on the main roster, but a little more frequently than I would have expected. So I'd say this is kind of a toss-up. Like I said, I'd love to see Matt Riddle win the championship, but I have a feeling Velveteen is probably going to retain. So that's who I'm picking in this one, is Velveteen Dream. Then we've got a fatal four-way for the NXT Women's Championship. Shayna Baszler is defending against Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Kairi Sane. This one, to me, is really too close to call. Now, I think Shayna Baszler is probably going to be moving up to Raw or SmackDown sooner rather than later, so she may be dropping the title here. To who, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, Kairi Sane has been the NXT Women's Champion for a little while, so I could see them putting it back on her. Io Shirai, she is the newest NXT member in this particular match. Bianca Belair hasn't been around a real long time, but all three of the challengers are very, very popular with the fans, so any one of them could carry that championship. So this one, like I said, it's kind of too close to call, but I will make my pick right here. I'm gonna say probably Bianca Belair, just because she seems to be the one getting the push. She had the one-on-one title match with Shayna at the last Takeover, and came very close to beating her. Put on a great match. So I'm gonna say it's Bianca Belair's turn for a shot with the title. And then for the NXT Championship, which currently is vacant, Tommaso Ciampa, of course, had to give it up because of his neck injury that required surgery. So we've got a 2 out of 3 falls match between Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole to fill the vacant championship. This match is one, and I say this a lot with NXT takeovers, this is one that could steal the whole weekend. These are absolutely the two top guys in NXT right now. I've never seen either one of them have a bad match. Johnny Gargano has main evented, numerous takeovers with Tommaso Ciampa, and they've put on outstanding matches every time, and I expect no different with Adam Cole because he's right at the same level. So this is probably the match that I'm looking the most forward to seeing this weekend. So that's my picks for NXT Takeover. I've got the War Raiders retaining, Walter winning the UK Championship from Pete Dunne, Velveteen Dream retaining, and Bianca Belair winning the Women's Championship from Shayna Baszler. As far as the NXT Championship, I'm going to say, as much as I want to say Gargano, I'm going to say Adam Cole to win the NXT Championship in this one. Especially if he gets any help from the Undisputed Era, from Strong, O'Reilly, or Bobby Fish. Of course, none of them are involved in any matches, so I expect them to show their faces one way or another. Going back to the women's match for a second, another reason I'm expecting Shayna to drop the championship, as I said, I'm thinking she's probably going to end up on the main roster sooner rather than later. There's also been some rumblings about possibly splitting up the horsewomen that are in NXT currently, which of course are Shayna Baszler, Marina Shafir, and Jessamyn Duke. Marina Shafir has been teaming with the Undisputed Era on NXT house shows, and I'm sure all of you guys know she is married to Roderick Strong, so I could see her possibly being added as another member of the Undisputed Era to give them someone that can carry the women's championship, obviously. So that would give them opportunity to dominate the championship scene in NXT if they were to go that direction. And like I said, Shayna Baszler is probably going to end up on Raw or SmackDown, possibly either with or against Ronda Rousey. I could see it going either way with that. And that kind of leaves Jessamyn Duke out on her own. I'm not sure what direction they would go with her. I don't know if they leave her solo, if they pair her up with somebody else. I don't see them sending either Duke or Shafir to the main roster with Shayna Baszler. My opinion, I don't think either one of them's quite ready yet. But if they were to keep all three of them together and put them with Ronda, maybe kind of have them get involved in the main event at WrestleMania somehow, then maybe. But we'll have to see how that one plays out. So moving on to Saturday, April 6th, and the one that kind of shocked everybody, the New Japan Ring of Honor G1 Supercard at Madison Square Garden. Just the fact that it's at MSG was a big deal to is a big deal to a lot of people, and the fact that it sold out as quickly as it did was just crazy that a company other than WWE was able to sell out Madison Square Garden. So what we've got going on here on the kickoff show, or the pre-show, whatever you want to call it, we've got a 6 women's tag team match, and I apologize if I butcher some of these names again. But on one side we've got Jenny Rose, Hazuki, and Kagetsu versus Hana Kimura, Stella Gray, and Sumi Sakai. And then also on the kickoff show, they have their Honor Rumble match, which is basically like a Royal Rumble. And the names that are announced for this one so far, I'm sure there's going to be more. Jushin Thunder Liger, Kenny King, PJ Black, the Beer City Bruiser, Brian Malonis, Cheeseburger, Rhett Titus, LSG, and Shaheem Ali. Like I said, there's only a handful of names announced as of today, so I'm sure there's more coming. And then getting into the main card here, we've got, they've got a lot going on. It looks like this is going to be a ridiculous show on some, couple of title unification matches. So I'm curious to see how these are going to play out. How they're going to work with the championships with Ring of Honor and New Japan. First one, we've got Will Ospreay defending the Never Openweight Championship versus Jeff Cobb, who's defending his Ring of Honor TV Championship in a winner-takes-all match. Both of these guys, Jeff Cobb, if you're not familiar with the name Jeff Cobb, if you were a fan of Lucha Underground at all, he was Yeah, now I forgot the character's name that he was in Lucha Underground. But geez, that's driving me crazy now. But anyway, trust me, he's good. He was in Lucha Underground, and he was the brother of the promoter, the guy that wore the kind of almost hockey-looking mask and wore like the very institutional-looking ring gear. And oh geez, yeah, you guys know who I'm talking about. Anyway, and Will Ospreay, one of the top guys in the world. I mean, there's really no arguing that one. So this one kind of a toss up, but my pick. Now I'm going to say Jeff Cobb coming out with both championships in this one. Then we've got Rush versus Dalton Castle in a singles match. Then we've got a singles match for the Women of Honor World Championship. Mayu Iwatani defending against Kelly Klein. I'm going to pick Iwatani to retain in this one. For the Rush Dalton Castle match, I am picking Rush as the winner in that one. Then we've got a New York City street fight, which Bully Ray laid down an open challenge a few weeks back, and Juice Robinson stepped up and accepted that challenge. So that should be an interesting match there. I want to pick Juice Robinson for this one. You know, Bully Ray has since he's been in Ring of Honor, just really playing the classic heel role, and just basically showing everybody, you know, how it's done, how you should portray a heel and what a heel is supposed to do. So on a show of this size, typically you see the heel getting their just due. So I'm going to pick Juice Robinson in this one. Then we've got a three-way match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Taiji Ishimori versus Dragon Lee versus Bandito. I want to pick Bandito for this one. The first time I saw Bandito was at All In, and he just impressed the hell out of me. I would love to see him win this one, but I'm going to go with Taiji Ishimori to retain his championship in this one. Then we've got another winner-takes-all fatal four-way tag team match for the IWGP and Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. The Guerrillas of Destiny, who are the IWGP champions, versus Villain Enterprises, PCO and Brody King, who are the Ring of Honor Tag Team champions, versus Los Ingobernables, Evil and Sonata, versus the Briscoe Brothers. This one, I'm going to go either Guerrillas of Destiny or the Briscoe Brothers for this one to take both championships. And then we've got a singles match for the British Commonwealth Heavyweight Championship. Zack Sabre Jr. defending against Hiroshi Tanahashi. This is another one that's just so close. It's hard to call. This show, they've got some of the top wrestlers in the world between New Japan and Ring of Honor. I mean, the in-ring action in this one is going to be, off the charts. So, but for this one, I'm going to pick Zack Sabre Jr. to retain. I'm a Zack Sabre fan. What can I say? We've got a singles match for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. Tetsuya Naito defending against Kota Ibushi. I'm picking Ibushi on this one. I want to, Ibushi was one. I think he was probably a surprise that he didn't sign with AEW, that he stuck with New Japan, and I can, definitely see him taking that championship and holding it for quite a while. So I'm picking Kota Ibushi. And we've got a three-way ladder match for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Jay Lethal versus Marty Scurll versus Matt Taven. I want Marty Scurll to win this one, but by all accounts, his Ring of Honor contract is up very soon, and I think most people are expecting him to go to AEW with the rest of the Elite guys. So I'm going to pick Jay Lethal to retain in this one. And then finally, we've got a singles match for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Jay White versus Kazuchika Okada. Now, Okada, of course, holds the record for longest title reign as the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Jay White just won that title not too long ago. I like Okada, but Jay White's been on a bit of a tear lately. Just winning the championship, I think, shocked a lot of people with Jay White. So I'm gonna pick Jay White to retain in this one. So that's the G1 Supercard. Go back through it real quick here. So I am picking Jeff Cobb to unify the ROH and ROH TV Championship and the Never Openweight Championship. I'm picking Rush to defeat Dalton Castle. Mayu Iwatani to retain the Women of Honor World Championship against Kelly Klein. Juice Robinson to defeat Bully Ray in the New York City Street Fight. Ishimori to retain the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Either the Gorillas of Destiny or the Briscoe Brothers to unify the IWGP and Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. Zack Sabre Jr. to retain the British Heavyweight Championship against Tanahashi. Ibushi to defeat Naito for the Intercontinental Championship. Jay Lethal to retain the Ring of Honor World Championship against Marty Scurll and Matt Taven. And Jay White to retain the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Kazuchika Okada. And then the same night, on April the 6th, we've got the WWE Hall of Fame induction going on. I hate to say it, it's kind of an underwhelming class this year. I mean, usually there's some big, I don't know if surprise is the right word, but, this year there's not too many big main event marquee names. You've got the Honky Tonk Man, longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. And I'm not taking anything away from any of these people or saying they don't deserve to go in, because they absolutely do. But I don't know, it doesn't seem to have the star power that the Hall of Fame usually does. We've got Torrie Wilson, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, who was just announced this past week, Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray going in as a tag team, which very well deserved. These, pretty much the best tag team, or one of the best tag teams that WCW had to offer. Of course, I think, you think of WCW tag teams, you think Harlem Heat and the Steiner Brothers. That's, probably the two best that there are. I don't think we'll see the Steiner Brothers going into the WWE Hall of Fame anytime soon, but that's just because of how Scott Steiner seems to feel about it. But Harlem Heat definitely deserving of that spot. Then, of course, the Hart Foundation going in as a tag team, Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I know everybody would have loved to see the full Hart Foundation from the Attitude Era going in, which would have been Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, Davey Boy Smith, Brian Pillman, and Owen Hart. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I talked about it before. I don't think we're going to see Owen Hart going in anytime soon in any way, shape, or form, which is unfortunate. But until that decision falls to his children, I don't think it's going to happen. But, the Hart Foundation, one of the best tag teams in history. I mean, they are they're the blueprint for what an 80s, 90s tag team was. You had the Technician and you had the Powerhouse. Whether it was Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, or Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, or the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid. That was kind of the blueprint of what a tag team was back in the mid to late 80s. So, absolutely well deserved there. Then we've got the Warrior Award, of course, going to WWE employee Sue Aitchison. Everything that has been said about her, she is more than deserving of this award, just based on, the work that she does with WWE, with all their charity partners, and facilitating all of the Make-A-Wish, and just, by all accounts, she works tirelessly to make all these things happen. So definitely well deserving, and definitely in the spirit of what the Ultimate Warrior intended when he first suggested this award. And then the headliners of the WWE Hall of Fame this year is D-Generation X, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, X-Pac, and Chyna. So now, of course, this is I think the big deal on this one is the fact that Chyna is finally going in when people have been kind of screaming for her to go in for a while here. Some people have a problem with the fact that she's going in as part of a group and not as a solo. I said it before, she's in the Hall of Fame. One way or the other, she's in the Hall of Fame. And her family apparently was overjoyed about it, just based on social media posts and things like that from her mother. So, if her family is accepting of it and doesn't have a problem with it, I don't think anybody else should either. But this, with this group induction, this makes all 5 members of the Clique now are Hall of Famers: Shawn Michaels, Triple H, X-Pac, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash. Now, Shawn Michaels now will be a 2-time Hall of Famer, along with Ric Flair, as well as Booker T, who's going in for his second time, and Bret Hart as well, going in for a second time. But yeah, this would be, I'm kind of surprised though with the DX induction. I'm not surprised that they put China in as part of a group. I am kind of surprised they put Triple H in as part of a group first. But again, it's the Hall of Fame. He's still a Hall of Famer. It's still going to say Triple H inside of his ring, or Paul Levesque, or whatever he wants put in there. It's not going to say Triple H parentheses D-Generation X. Same thing with China. It's going to say China inside of the ring that that's given to her family, or Joni Lauer, or whatever they want to have put in there. It's not like there's going to be an asterisk by her name when they say WWE Hall of Famer China, parentheses D-Generation X. So, but like I said, that's really the big headliner is the D-Generation X group induction. Yeah, kind of interesting that no inductors have been announced. I think they're trying to condense the show down a little bit, because last couple of years it has kind of run off the rails a little bit with some long speeches between the inductors and the inductees, and the in-between stuff with whoever's hosting, which apparently this year it's Corey Graves and Renee Young. So, it looks like they're trying to cut the show down to a reasonable time, because I think they figured people don't want to sit and watch a Hall of Fame ceremony for 4 or 5 hours. There's going to be plenty of that the next day at WrestleMania. So, but yeah, like I said, it just seems a little underwhelming, but I think the Hall of Fame ceremony is always good. I'm always interested to see who they're going to put in the legacy wing. I always like seeing some of the older names get the recognition that they deserve. So I'll definitely be watching, and I think I'm sure the DX induction will be entertaining, and I'm sure there'll be some emotional moments with China's family talking. So either way, I'm sure it's going to be a great Hall of Fame show. Now, moving on to the big one, Sunday, April the 7th, WrestleMania 35, and this is a huge, huge card. As of right now, there are 15 matches announced, with the possibilities for more still to be added. The Raw Tag Team Championships are not being defended as of right now. John Cena does not have an announced match as of right now. The Undertaker doesn't have a match, so there's been rumors going around that, not rumors, John Cena is already in New York, apparently at a book signing, and he's been seen around town. But the rumor was that he was offered a match. Don't know what that match was. Some people were saying he could be the person that interrupts Elias, and we get an impromptu match that way, because Elias, of course, is the musical act for WrestleMania this year. So we'll have to see what happens with that. I'm sure Cena, one way or another, will be on the show. Like I said, The Undertaker does not have a match, which kind of surprised me. But I don't think necessarily means he's retired. If you follow The Undertaker on social media, he's looking to be in great shape. He's dropped some weight. He looks fantastic. He looks to be in the best shape of his career. So, I'm sure he will at least show up. Whether or not there's actually a match, probably not. But then again, The Undertaker's one, you really don't have to promote it. It's WrestleMania. He's probably the first name that most people think of when they think of WrestleMania. Oh, it's WrestleMania. Who's The Undertaker fighting this year? So we'll have to see on that one. As far as the Raw Tag Team titles, it's really the only championship not on the show, which really kind of surprises me. Throughout this entire weekend, with the exception of the UK championships, the women's and tag team championships that are not getting defended this weekend, but for the US based shows, the Raw tag team titles are the only ones not being defended, which I think is kind of a little messed up. I think it speaks to the importance of the tag team division in general when it comes to the WWE higher ups. The SmackDown tag team title match was just added yesterday, 5 days out from the event. But anyway, let's start going through this card here. We'll start off with the one that I just talked about, the SmackDown Tag Team Championships Fatal 4-Way match. The Usos defending against The Bar, Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev, and Ricochet and Aleister Black. So they're pulling double duty on NXT TakeOver and WrestleMania. Potentially could win the NXT and SmackDown tag team titles. Never know. That'd be kind of interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, the tag team titles are ones that I definitely think should be unified, because the tag team division has just kind of fallen by the wayside, and those titles don't mean as much as they should. So I'd love to see, what I would love to see is them announce a Raw tag team title match, make it a fatal 4-way, keep it kind of consistent through WrestleMania. The women's tag titles are in a fatal 4-way, the SmackDown tag titles are in a fatal 4-way, do the same thing with Raw, and put Ricochet and Aleister Black in the Raw tag title match too, give them a chance to win all three. I'd love to see all three of those titles on one team, just to make it a little more interesting, I guess. Make it like the women's tag team titles, defend them across all the brands. But moving on from there, we've got the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, second annual. Basically any woman who does not have a match already on the card is going to be in the Battle Royal. The the big one that pretty much everybody's talking about here the last few weeks for the WWE Championship, Kofi Kingston against Daniel Bryan. I'm picking Kofi to win this one. I think pretty much everybody is. I think that's what everybody wants to see. Hopefully WWE pulls the trigger and gives Kofi a chance with, gives him a chance of being a top guy and holding that WWE title. Supposedly, one of the rumors going around online is that one of the ideas is to put the title on Kofi and have him hold it until SummerSlam, and then at that point put it on Randy Orton, because apparently Vince wants Randy to be the champion when SmackDown makes the move to Fox. Again, it's online rumor. Who knows where any of this information comes from when any of the so-called wrestling journalists are reporting it, so you have to take it all with a grain of salt. So, but yeah, I'm picking Kofi Kingston in this one. I didn't give my pick for the SmackDown tag title match. I'm actually going to pick Ricochet and Aleister Black. They've been going over pretty much everybody on Raw and SmackDown, so if they don't win the titles here, I'd be kind of surprised. I know a lot of people are disappointed that the Hardys were not involved in this match. A lot of people want to see just a straight up 1-on-1, or 2-on-2 I should say, between the Hardys and the Usos, just because they've never had a match. It's two brother teams. It just there's a good story there. So, but fortunately it didn't happen that way. The Hardy Boys are both in the Andre Battle Royal. But yeah, I'm picking Ricochet and Aleister Black in this one. Picking Kofi to win the WWE Championship. We've got a fatal 4-way match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. The Boss and Hug Connection defending against the Divas of Doom, which is Beth Phoenix and Natalya, versus the Iconics versus Nia Jax and Tamina. I'm picking Bayley and Sasha Banks to retain in this one. The title, to me, this is my opinion, the titles are too new, and Bayley and Sasha have not held them for that long. I think if they start passing it around too much this early, it's going to diminish those titles. So I'm hoping Bayley and Sasha are going to retain here. Then we've got a singles match between Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. I think Drew McIntyre needs to win this match. Roman Reigns does not need to win. Drew McIntyre does. I mean, Drew McIntyre is one that could be the face of the company going forward. I mean, I could totally see him as Universal or WWE champion, being the top guy on Raw, SmackDown, whatever. He's got all the tools, as does Roman Reigns. Don't get me wrong, but McIntyre needs the boost that this victory would give him to push him to that level, and I think that's probably what most of the fans want to see, is McIntyre win. But I've got a feeling it's probably not going to happen. I think they're still going to push Roman Reigns as the top guy. So I begrudgingly, my pick in this one is Roman Reigns, and I've said many times I have nothing against Roman Reigns. I don't. I like Roman Reigns. I just think Drew McIntyre should be the one to win this match. Then we've got a singles match for the Intercontinental Championship. Bobby Lashley defending against Finn Balor. We found out this past week Balor will be coming out as his Demon King persona, which a lot of people are happy about. I don't know how much I liked the little video vignette, or whatever you want to call it, where he transformed into the demon. I mean, it was cool to see him in the demon makeup, but they should have just left it at that. The little hiss and growl, and yeah, I didn't necessarily get that, but it is what it is. But it'll be the first time we're seeing the demon at WrestleMania, so I'm thinking the entrance should be epic, hopefully. WrestleMania entrances typically are for something like that, so but I'm picking Finn Balor to win back the Intercontinental Championship. We've got a singles match for the United States Championship. Samoa Joe defending against Rey Mysterio. Now, Rey Mysterio apparently was injured on Raw when he was taking on Baron Corbin. So there's a little bit of a question mark on whether or not he's going to be able to go for WrestleMania. But there hasn't been any change to this match announced. So as of today, like I said, Wednesday the 3rd, Rey Mysterio is still in the U.S. Championship match. I'm thinking more than likely, though, Samoa Joe is going to retain in this one. We've got the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I mean, there's, for the Andre Battle Royal and the Women's Battle Royal, there's really no prize. I mean, there's a trophy, but, you'd think, the winner gets a title shot, maybe even later on in the show, or something along those lines. But, it's pretty much just to get as many people on the card as possible, which is great, don't get me wrong. It's great that they try to get everybody involved so that everybody gets that WrestleMania payday. But I mean, battle royals, I find them entertaining. A lot of people don't like them. A lot of people think they're pointless. I mean, the trophies are cool looking, but if there was something to go with it, like, okay, the winner gets a title match the next night on Raw, then it would I guess kind of up the game a little bit. Then we've got another singles match, AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. Now, if what I said earlier was true about Vince wanting Orton to be the WWE champion when the move is made to SmackDown, I would say Orton is probably going to come out on top in this one. But I'm gonna go with my gut on this one. I'm gonna pick AJ Styles to defeat Randy Orton. Then we have a Falls Count Anywhere match between Shane McMahon and The Miz. This match has been building for the last few weeks. Shane and Miz, formerly the tag team champions, once they lost those titles, we saw Shane make a heel turn, which Shane is a much better heel than he is a babyface. I think everybody knows that. And, a lot of people were moaning and groaning about this match, like Shane always has to be on WrestleMania and things like that. But Shane McMahon is, you can deny it all you want, but Shane McMahon is a great worker. And, he doesn't have to get in that ring. I mean, he is a McMahon. He may not be an executive in the company anymore or, an owner, quote unquote, but he is a McMahon. He doesn't have to get in that ring. He gets in there because he wants to. So I think it's going to be a great match, especially the Falls Count Anywhere stipulation, the size of the arena that they're in. There's a lot of things that they can do. I'm picking The Miz to win this one and get his vengeance on Shane. Then we have another singles match, a farewell match for Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin. Now, if wrestling tradition comes into play at all in this one, then Angle will go out on his back and Corbin will be the winner. But, this is one where I know a lot of people are hoping that John Cena somehow, some way ends up replacing Baron Corbin, which I could see a couple different scenarios where that's happening. Maybe before the match starts, Cena jumps Corbin in the back and says, Angle deserves better, or something that I think would be kind of cool is Angle and Corbin come out for the match and Angle just, beats Corbin right off the bat. It's like a 10-second squash match. And then Angle gets on the mic and says, you know what, I had a feeling this was going to happen. You guys deserve better. I deserve better. So I put in a call to a friend of mine and, here comes John Cena out for the actual match. And, I think the crowd would go nuts for something like that. But that's just my own, kind of fantasy booking going on there. What do I know? I'm just a fan, right? But I think that would get a tremendous reception if it came off that way. Unfortunately, I think the odds of that are slim to none. The WWE seems pretty set on this Corbin and Angle match. So if that's the case, then I'm unfortunately picking Baron Corbin to go over, just based on history and tradition of a wrestler going out on his back. Then we've got a no-holds-barred match between Triple H and Batista. If Triple H loses this match, he has to retire from in-ring competition. But, Batista also said this is his final match. So, yeah, it's, I guess it's Batista's final match either way, win, lose, or draw. But if Triple H loses, he has to retire. So I'm kind of up in the air on this one. My pick, I guess, would be Triple H. I think Triple H is probably going to be the one to defeat Batista again, if this is his final match, going out on his back and kind of just wrapping up the WWE portion of his career. Then we've got the Cruiserweight Championship, which is happening on the kickoff show. Buddy Murphy defending against Tony Nese. I am really looking forward to this one. This is going to be another one that's got the potential to steal the show. I hate that it's on the kickoff show. I think the Cruiserweight title doesn't get the status that it deserves. I think the 205 Live guys in general don't get the recognition that they deserve, and I think that's just because a lot of people don't see 205 Live. But I've said many times, as far as in-ring product goes, if you are a wrestling fan, you like actual in-ring wrestling, 205 Live and NXT is what you need to be watching as far as WWE products. But on this one, Buddy Murphy's had the Cruiserweight title for a little while. Tony Nese, I don't think this is his first opportunity, but obviously on the WrestleMania stage it is. I'm gonna pick Tony Nese. I'm a fan of Tony Nese. I'm a fan of both of these guys, but I'm picking Tony Nese in this one. Then for the Universal Championship, we've got Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. I'm picking Seth in this one. By all accounts, this is another case where Brock is potentially leaving WWE. Who knows if he's going back to UFC or what's going on this time. I mean, maybe he'll sign another last-minute extension. But my pick in this one is Seth Rollins. I think, I hope WWE has gotten the point this time that, the fans want something different. They're tired of having Brock Lesnar hold that title and never be on television, except for a week or two before his next title defense. So I'm picking Seth Rollins definitely to go over in this one. Now, we could see some shenanigans from Paul Heyman. Like I said a few weeks ago, right after the match was first announced, Seth had that in-ring promo where he basically said he would sell his soul to the devil himself to defeat Brock Lesnar. And I know a few people, latched onto that and said, oh, the devil himself, he could be talking about Paul Heyman. Very well could. Could we see Heyman turn on Lesnar? I think that's something, and that I don't think that would be considered a heel turn for Seth Rollins. I think it would be considered a face turn for Paul Heyman, because the fans, I think, would go nuts for it, because people love Paul Heyman, the people love Seth Rollins, people hate Brock Lesnar. So, that's just one possible outcome in that one. I think it'd be great, but Seth Rollins really doesn't need a mouthpiece. So I can't see him being the next Paul Heyman guy, but stranger things have happened. But I am definitely picking Seth Rollins to come out on top in this one and be the next Universal Champion. Then we've got the main event, winner takes all triple threat match for both the Raw and SmackDown Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. Ronda Rousey defending the Raw title, Charlotte defending the SmackDown title. And the third person in that match, of course, is Becky Lynch. This one, history-making match, first time ever, women main eventing WrestleMania, long time coming. And if you are gonna have three women to main event, the biggest show of the year, these are the three women you want in there. Ronda Rousey brings that mainstream attention to the show. Charlotte, almost as good of a heel as her father is, and Becky is arguably the top babyface in the company right now. So it's, I say it's a perfect storm. You can't really get three better performers in there to have this match, because all three of them are phenomenal in the ring. Ronda Rousey, I think, has really come into her own as a heel. It just seems to be much more natural for her. She doesn't seem to be struggling so much with things to say. It sounds like when she's cutting a promo, it sounds more real, it sounds more organic, it sounds more like she's talking from the heart. And I think, it has definitely taken her in the right direction. She is much more effective as a heel than as a babyface. Charlotte, probably the best athlete in WWE right now, male or female. And again, as I said, close to being as good of a heel as her father. And Becky Lynch, she's been referred to as the female Stone Cold a number of times, and I would tend to agree. She's the one, bucking the system, and all the fans are behind her. And yeah, but my pick on this one, I'm saying at the end of WrestleMania, you are going to see Becky Lynch standing up on the turnbuckle, holding 2 championships with all the fireworks and confetti going off and everything, and that's gonna be your closing shot for WrestleMania, is Becky Lynch holding both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. Now, there hasn't really been anything said as far as going forward. Are the titles going to be permanently unified, or are they going to split them off again at some point? If they do, I expect it to be before October, before SmackDown goes to Fox, so that they have their championships intact. So we'll have to wait and see how they're going to go with that. Yeah, supposedly there's going to be another superstar shakeup coming. I don't know if it's this week or next week, or this coming week, I should say, or the following week. But yeah, so I would think more than likely, if they're going to split the titles back off, it'll be within the next 6 months or so before SmackDown makes the move to Fox. So that's pretty much it. That is a rundown of the big shows going on WrestleMania weekend. I'll run back down my picks for WrestleMania real quick. I've got Ricochet and Aleister Black winning the SmackDown Tag Team titles, Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship, Bayley and Sasha Banks retaining the Women's Tag Team Championship, Roman Reigns defeating Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor defeating Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental title, Samoa Joe retaining the United States title, AJ Styles defeating Randy Orton, The Miz defeating Shane McMahon in the Falls Count Anywhere match, Baron Corbin over Kurt Angle in Angle's farewell match, Batista defeating Triple H in a No Holds Barred match, Tony Nese defeating Buddy Murphy for the Cruiserweight Championship, Seth Rollins defeating Brock Lesnar for the Universal title, and Becky Lynch defeating Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair for the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. So yeah, that's how your WrestleMania weekend breaks down. We'll see how accurate my picks are starting today when the show drops on Thursday. Like I said, I'm recording this on Wednesday, but it'll be dropping Thursday evening. So we'll see how good my picks are here. So as always, thank you again, everybody, for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and this will be the final week that the show is on Twitch. After this week, Twitch will just be used for live streaming. And thanks to everybody for following on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. It's at CatchHookShoot on all of those. And email is catchhookshoot@gmail.com if you ever want to drop me any questions, comments, got any ideas for the show, something you'd like to hear me talk about, or anything along those lines. So starting next week on the show, I'll be back to my normal schedule here, which will be on Sunday, April, where are we at here? Sunday, April 14th will be the next, when the next show is dropping. I'm going to, as I said, I think a week or two ago, I'm going to get back to my lists. I'm going to be going through the top 50 tag teams and the top 50 women of all time. And again, it's my list. This is by my, just my own rankings. So, but I'm going to start with the top 50 women of all time, starting next week. And I will also have a huge announcement next week. Well, it's huge for me anyway, regarding an upcoming episode of the show coming up in May. So make sure you tune in for that one. But until then, hope everybody has a good week. Enjoy the biggest weekend in pro wrestling. Hope everybody's off on Monday like I am, so you can recover from it. And yeah, like I said, just enjoy, have fun. And yeah, that's about all I can say about that. Don't read too much into anything. Don't be too overly critical. Just sit back, watch, and enjoy. Be fans, guys. Don't be critics. Be fans. Sit back, watch, let things play out, and just have a good time, because that's what it's all about. So until next week, April 14th, like I said, when the next show will be dropping. Hope everybody enjoys WrestleMania weekend. Hope everybody has a good next week, and I will talk to you guys soon.